San Diego's housing market might finally be catching its breath. After years of nonstop price growth, we're starting to finally see a cool down, but not necessarily a crash. So what's really happening behind the numbers? Let's break it down right now. So here's where we got the title of this video: the most splendid housing bubbles in America, with price drops in some places had gains in 33 large expensive metros in September of 2025. Prices fell year over year in 22, all these markets here, including Tampa, Austin, Miami, and right here is San Diego. So San Diego right here was number 11 on the list at 2.7% year over year price declines, compared to Tampa, which is at 6.3%, and down here in Nashville at minus 0.1%. In some places, compared to their peak, depending on certain places peaked at different times. Some were in 2022, some were in 2023. Right here in San Diego, we peaked in 2024, so right around July of last year. Percentage declines from their respective peaks. So obviously Austin has seen a huge drop off, where they are almost 24% down. Next comes San Francisco. Then you have Phoenix's, and then we're down this way. So we had the 2024 peak. Off of that, we're down 2.8%. And for this article, they were using the Zillow Home Value Index, which is based on millions of data points in Zillow's database of all homes, including from public records, tax records, MLS, brokerages, local realtor associations, real estate agents, and households across the US. It includes pricing data for off-market deals and for sale by owner deals as well. So they took a lot of it into account. So here are home prices here in San Diego going all the way back to 2003. You see the housing bubble right here. This is where we had a lot of buying opportunities. And then since about 2013 till now, we've been on an upward trajectory, but we peaked out right around here in July of 2024. Since then, it kind of went sideways for a little bit, and then we've seen a little bit of a downtick. So down 2.8% from the peak there, month over month. So comparing last month to this month, down 0.2%, year over year down 2.7%. And since 2000, we've seen a 327% rise in home values right here in San Diego. So even if we aren't using the Zillow numbers, year over year price tier data for the San Diego metro area from September 2024 to September of 2025, using the First American Data and Analytics Home Pricing Index. And even though these numbers are a little bit different from the Zillow numbers, the trend is the same. Starter homes are down 2.3%. So that entry-level home depends on what area right here in San Diego you're looking as far as what that starter price point is. The mid-tier, those move-up homes, and then are down 2%, and then luxury is holding up the best, down only 0.7%. And just for a snapshot around the county as a whole, depending on what area you're in, home prices are down anywhere between 2 to 4%. The typical home or medium price home right here in San Diego is just under that $1 million mark. Homes are typically taking longer to sell, maybe a little bit above that 30-day mark, where in years past it was like a week. So we're definitely not in that time frame anymore. And inventory started to go up, but we're starting to see that come into where we were last year. They're coming a little bit closer together. We were well above last year as far as the number of homes on the market. That has started to fade as we've gone into these last few weeks and months. But if you guys want a quick snapshot of what's happening exactly in your neck of the woods, in your zip code, just hit that first link down below in the description. We'll get you, for your specific zip code, exactly what's happening as far as price points, as far as the number of homes on the market, as far as how much homes are getting list to sales price. So if you want that, first link right down below, we got that for you. So what does this all mean for buyers and sellers? And we'll get into a few real stories that were happening out there with our clients right now. So as a whole, buyers, you're definitely in a better position than we have been in years past, where you're getting more listings on the market, fewer bidding wars, and a little bit more room for negotiation. But with all that said, we're still seeing affordability issues as home prices are still near their record highs that we have seen, even though they've come off that a little bit. Interest rates are still somewhat higher definitely than they were a few years ago. We're still coming down almost to or closer to that 6% mark, which I think will unlock a few more buyers in the market. So you will start seeing potential more competition, especially as we go into the buying season, which is not till like springtime of next year. So there's a little opportunity from here to there, but less bidding wars. We're working with buyers right now They're in that starter price point in a coastal community, so it's a little bit higher price point. But even with less competition and bidding wars, there's still other buyers competing for these homes. So with these clients, the first home we went to see that they decided to write an offer on, it was on for about 17 days or so, so a little over 2 weeks. Still didn't have any offers, or still didn't have any accepted offers. They saw it over the weekend. We wrote them offer. During that time frame, there was actually the sellers were in negotiation with another buyer, and they ended up accepting that offer right as we got our offer in. Even though ours might have been a little bit better, the sellers were ready to move forward. They were already in negotiations with the other buyers. They decided to go to that. So even 17 days in, there was other buyers interested. Next house they saw was actually on the market for about 3 weeks, and there had been no offers. There had been no price reductions or anything that would make more buyers come and be interested in the property. Now, interest rates did come down during this 3-week time frame a little bit, but as we were writing our offer, there was another offer going at the same time. So we were in a competitive situation. The other offer ended up being a little bit more competitive, so they ended up getting the home. Now we have another offer in on a third property they were looking at, and we were having a conversation talking about, here the market's a little slow. We hear, things aren't going as quickly and this and that. And that is the story if we're comparing it to a few years ago. But as even they have noticed, there is still other buyers out there that are potentially going to compete. Now, prices aren't going well above list. The last two, I think they were maybe a little bit under list, and the next accepted offer was probably right around that asking price. So even though there was a little competition, it didn't push the price point well above the list price. And for sellers, it's definitely time to price strategically. Can't necessarily say this is the last home, this is the last comparable that sold in my neighborhood, let's price it 10% above that. You still get a lot of offers, you still get a lot of people. That was in the times past. But still, homes that are priced right and presented well are still getting some traction and still selling relatively quickly. But all in all, buyers are getting pickier. Now, a few things we're keeping an eye on right here in the San Diego real estate market, new listings. Now, a lot of this year, the early part of this year, we were well above the new listings. So the number of homes coming on the market, we were tracking well above last year. About mid-May, early June, we started to go below last year's line, and now we are sitting 7.3% less listings. So less new inventory coming onto the market. If we do get an influx of buyers, there's going to be less homes to go check out. But pending sales, the number of homes in escrow is also down about 6.6%. So on the demand side, we're also seeing less homes go under contract. Now, this one's interesting, which we've been keeping an eye on as we go to the latter part of the year, is off market in 2 weeks, is up 2.9% above last year. But compared to last year, when we were on a downward trend here, we're actually starting to pick up here, which is interesting as far as what's going on in the market. It's potentially due to interest rates dropping a little bit, but typically as we go towards the end of the year, homes sit on the market a little longer. So it's kind of going against what we have seen, and going on an upward trend is also not typical right here in the San Diego real estate market during this time. And then here's the median sales price at $893,000, right on par with where we were last year. So all in all, the San Diego housing market isn't falling apart. It's just rebalancing. As we've seen elevated prices over these past few years, we're starting to come down just a little tiny bit. And so as you're going through and potentially thinking about buying or thinking about selling, it's always important to know what's going on in your specific neighborhood, because what's happening in 92009 of Carlsbad isn't necessarily happening in 92069 of San Marcos. What's happening in La Jolla is not necessarily what's happening over in Claremont. What's happening in Santee isn't necessarily what's happening up in Del Mar. So there's completely different markets. But if you guys want a snapshot of what's happening directly in your zip code, in your market, we have a link right down below in the first link in the description. Go check that out. And if you are thinking about selling and you want a current valuation of your current snapshot, there's also a link right down below. It's not automated. It takes about 24 hours to put together, but we'll get that over to you and give you a good idea of what your home is actually worth in today's market.